Hey, hello guys, welcome to yet another tutorial. In this part of the video, we'll be learning lists, keys, props and prop drilling, another React hook, the use effect hook, JSON server, how to fetch using the fetch API, and some basic CRD operations. So for a start, I want to show you some packages I've already installed. The JSON server, which is going to enable us to create a fake server like an API endpoint, and Bootstrap CSS, which I'll be using for my CSS. It is a CSS library, and I'm only using Bootstrap for now because I'm trying to like style this app quickly, but you can style it any way you want for now. But after this tutorial, I'll be talking more about Bootstrap, as there'll be another tutorial for Bootstrap. Without further ado, I'd like to go straight into the course. So I'll go into my root file and I'm going to create a folder named data, where I'm going to store I want any data I want to serve, like from my endpoint. So I'm going to create a new file named db.json, and in that file I want to just populate the file with some basic data. So some curly braces for an object, so I would like to name it posts. So if you actually use JSON server, this post will be like an endpoint, and you see that very soon. So I have like some object here. I have the ID. You can have this to have an ID of 0. You can have the title, and then it could be first post, and then I can have maybe a body, and I could just have lorem ipsum lorem ipsum, and I just like to copy this and replicate. So copy, and then a comma, so I could actually add more data. Let me add 3 data, so I'll just change a few things. This should be 2, and then this one. So first post, I would like to change this to second, and then third. Yeah, I think I'm good for now. So to use JSON server, I'm going to open my terminal. I think that is already opened, so I'm going to run the command npx json server, and I'll add a port where I want to create a server. So I'll use a port of 300. Then I'll watch the file I want to serve with the JSON server. So I want to serve this db.json inside the data folder. So I have data slash db.json, and that should actually create a fake server for me. And yes, I have my server running on port 300, and I have this endpoint which I'm going to copy because I'll be using it very soon. So I'll copy this endpoint and I'll go back to my app.json. In the last tutorial, we actually created a component for our counter app. So I'm going to remove that for now. I'm going to remove that. Let me hide the terminal so you can actually see more. Then I'm going to add a new file in my source folder. I would like to create a new component to display all my posts. So the post list dot jsx. So I'm going to do refc, and that will generate a React arrow functional component expression. So I don't need to import React. And yes, what I want to do here is I want to fetch for my database, which I'm serving with the JSON server um, dependency. So what I would like to do here is I would like to use another React hook, which is the use effect hook. So use effect, I'm going to import that from React. I'll just do this, and that should import it automatically for me. And when we talk about the use effect hook, it actually expects 2 parameters, even though you can actually provide one and it will work, but it expects 2 parameters. And the first one is the callback function. I mean, you should know what a callback function is already by now. And in this callback function, you are going to put any function you would like to run. You would like to run in this callback function. And the second parameter is a list of dependencies, an array of dependencies. And these dependencies are like data that whenever they change, you want to run the code inside of this callback function. So if you actually add the data here, whenever the data changes, the code in this callback function is going to rerun. But if you actually have an empty dependency, this callback function will only run once whenever you load the page, it will run once. And if you don't have a callback function, if you don't have a list of dependencies at all, this function will actually reload whenever any component is. For example, if you have a button that is altering the data on the DOM, whenever you click the button, this function is going to load because you have a list of dependencies and it will load every time a component changes. And that's that about the use effect hook. So what I would like to do is I would like this the function I'm about to provide here to run once. So I'll be putting an empty dependency array here. And what I would like to do is I would like to fetch my data. So basically I'll be using an IIFE, which is an instantly invoked functional expression. So curly in the brackets, then I want to have an asynchronous function because fetching data is an asynchronous function. So an asynchronous function, then I want to do const data is equal to await fetch, then I would like to fetch from that endpoint, then const the response should be equal to await because it is also an asynchronous function. I would like to await data dot json data.json. And yes, how do I actually get this data out of here? So what I would like to do now is to use a use effect, a use state is to actually store the data in a state. So const, so I'll do an array destructuring of posts, comma, set post use state, and I'm going to initialize this with an array because it really makes sense that I do that. I initialize this with an array because later on I'll be expecting an array from this data.json and I'll be storing an array inside this post object. So then I'm going to set post after I've gotten my response with the response that I get. So I'm going to set post with that. And yeah, in case I actually have an error, I should probably put a try catch block out here. So I would like to try. This is what I would like to try. So this is what I would like to try. Okay. A little problem. Yes. I don't know. Yes. Then I would like to catch any error that I get. So I can just console.log error. That is if I actually get an error. So yeah, I think we are good to go and we can actually use this data anywhere we want, and this is where I actually want to use this data. Instead of a div, I would rather prefer an empty fragment, an empty React fragment. So then I would like to display this data. So I'll use curly braces because I'll be writing some JavaScript, and the JavaScript I'm writing is the post dot map. So I'll be mapping through the post. And another thing I'd like to talk about here is key. So instead of just getting a post, I'll also be getting a key for the post, a key for the post. So for each post, there is a key. And also since I'll be returning JSX, I'll be using curly braces, I'll be using brackets instead. So then I could just have a div dot card. Oh, sorry. A div dot card. A div dot card. And I should be having a div dot card title. And I want to do the post. Okay. I'm writing JavaScript again. So curly braces. So the post dot title should be here. And then I want the card body. So post dot body. And maybe just a p tag down here where I'm going to put the post. Well, I think that's all. We have the post title and the body. Yeah, that's all. I think this is good. Yes. And if I actually run this code, this should actually give me an error because this div does not really have a key. So basically just put a key just to avoid the error. You can try and generate the error by not adding this key. So yeah, this is just the standard. So for us to see these changes, I think we need to import that component out here. So I could just do the post list component. I'll just have to import it here, and this should pretty much be all we need. So I should create a new terminal. So I'll do npm run dev, and so I can go to my browser and try to run this and see if this actually works. Hopefully it works. So then I can go to localhost. No, it is not 3000 because I'm using Vite. So 57. Yes, as you can see, we have our post. We have the first post. We have the body, the second post. I try and style this a little. Let's see. I can do this with Bootstrap. So then I can do a div. I can just do yeah, I could do a div dot container, and this should wrap this up in the container. I'm not trying to restore anything. So yeah, that's just that about that. Without I don't really want to waste time. So we have our first post, second post, and third post, and I'll be styling these much later. I'll be styling this later, of course. And maybe in the next episode we'll be talking more about how to actually do the CRD operations, some React routers to create extra route A and stuff like that. See you soon.